Hello there, guys, and welcome back to my channel for yet another match preview by myself as Chelsea also take on Newcastle tomorrow evening on Monday. Of course, it's still weird playing on a Monday. We haven't played on a Monday in a very long time. To actually go into the top four, because not only have Liverpool dropped another 3 points yesterday when they lost to Leicester, also to make things even better, Manchester United were just held to a draw by West Brom. Although I didn't watch the game, these two guys just told me that West Brom should have won. So now I'm not quite as happy anymore. But as you can see, I'm joined by two people. Of course, first of all, and first and foremost, my partner in crime, Mr. Carefree Lewis G. Bro, how are you?
I'm good. What are you telling me, man? How's your weekend been?
Bro, I won't lie. You know, if I'm going to go into detail, I've had a bit of a mare. Man was living on a headache for like 3 days straight. I was even getting tests done and like, okay, at least I'm negative, so that's something. But I was like 2 hours sleep, slept in the afternoon. I've been a bit all over the shop. I won't lie. But now I'm good. So all good.
Good. We're on the up at least. I like that.
Exactly. And we're joined by an incredibly special guest, in my opinion, today as well, by my graphics guy. All these things that you can see around us, you know, the little thing at the bottom, the logo at the top, that's all over there. That's all his work. And randomly, I just messaged him, if you actually want to hop on one of these streams, just let me know. And he was like, yeah, we can do that. So I was like, well, off we go then. Matt, how are you? Welcome to the channel.
Hi, thanks for having me, starters. First time. Just buzzing off the Man United, to be honest.
Exactly. Like, couldn't really be asking for more. I mean, we are well and truly in a fight for second, really. I mean, obviously, Leicester are in good form, and obviously beat Liverpool in a crazy game, quite frankly. But, you know, we are in that fight for second, you know, considering a lot of people, when Tuchel was appointed, were saying, are we even going to make top four? And now, if we win tomorrow, and fingers crossed we do, and obviously we will. I'm not sure whether either of you saw the thread that Dubois did with all of the similarities to 2012, what that would mean, and the fact that we lost to Newcastle at home in 2012. I'm not sure. I just really don't want to lose to Newcastle. We'll get onto that in a bit, but yeah, I'm just looking forward to it, to be honest. Like, I hate playing last in the weekend because I'm like, all right, I'm watching all this football and I'm like, can we just get going as well? Because it builds up the pressure. As much as it's nice to see, okay, we can really take advantage of this, but not so far on the Tuchel, but at least previously, whenever other teams have dropped the ball, we always failed to capitalize on it because it felt like there was more pressure on the team and they always bottled it. So I hope this time will not be that case. But of course, ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching this right now, or if you're watching this later on as a video, please be sure to subscribe. Check out Lewis, of course, his channel, Carefree Lewis G. It's in the first line of the description. Subscribe to him. Check out Matthew's Twitter. It's in the link of it's like in the description of every video. So check him out. But yeah, you know, let's just get into that. Of course, guys, if you have any messages that you really, you know, want me to read or whatever, because we might miss some, do use the super chat function. Become a member if you fancy it. But yeah, first of all, Tyrell, big up yourself. Melinda, of course, in the chat. Justice in the chat. Love that. And Gallagher. Exactly. Gallagher, clear man of the match. Clear of AMN. Who is AMN?
Ainsley Maitland-Niles, but the question is also correct. Who is Maitland-Niles in this game? No one knows.
Exactly. There you go. But boys, what were you feeling ahead of this game? Let me go with Matt first, because this first time round. Let me go with Matt first. What are you feeling ahead of this game?
I was quite optimistic until he said that whole thing about 2012, to be honest. Yeah, well, I mean, since Tuchel's come in, we've just been a different side, haven't we? But I do have to say, I do kind of feel sorry for Frank, to us. If he, I don't know, since the team's been dropping points, if he was there maybe just for another week, things could be completely different. But I don't know what you guys think about that.
Yeah, that's the weird one
where you just right now.
Yeah, that's the weird one.
People have been saying it, but I don't really back that. I look at the games we have right now. Wolves, that game could have been a lot worse if it weren't for how well we handled that game.
Oh, yeah, we were.
Like one Neto chance, for example. I think with Lampard, we have worse game management and we lose that match. I think Burnley might be a win. I mean, really and truly, with the level that we dominated them, it might have been a win. It also might have been a 0-0 draw and we struggled to break them down for 90 minutes like the Fulham match. It could be either or. Spurs, maybe we win. Maybe we get that top six thing off our back still. Like, Spurs were terrible in that game. So even if we wouldn't be that great, maybe we get a chance. Maybe Werner still gets taken down for a penalty. Draw or win, but I don't see us losing that one. Sheffield United, we definitely lose that one on the Lampard. That was our toughest game that we had since Tuchel joined. And the way they played, we would have got battered if Lampard was still on the job. I love Lampard, but it is what it is. He wasn't the man for the job.
Yeah, I don't want to keep looking backwards because, you know, Tuchel's our man now. But
No, I understand the thought process behind it. I've already said Lampard will probably come back in like 5 or 10 years. And then we can actually really have a push for the Premier League title or bigger trophies with him. But for now, we're just reaching too much, especially with Chelsea's expectations of the club.
It's a weird one, really, isn't it? Because obviously, like Matt said, you just don't know. Like, we sacked Frank. We have, obviously, Lewis made some very good points. You know, we had poor in-game management and the form just wasn't there. And it seemed like certain players didn't quite, I wouldn't say not play for Frank anymore, but maybe didn't quite trust him anymore. And obviously, we heard everything that came out with the Athletic and obviously the Telegraph as well. But you never know for sure. So there's always that little bit of doubt. And I guess the doubt is a bad thing when you like the manager and you don't care about the doubt for just a single second if you don't. I guess that's just where it comes in, I guess. But ahead of Newcastle, obviously, to explain it to everyone watching, obviously in 2012, a lot of similarities happened to this season. I can't even remember how many there was. But, you know, we sacked the manager mid-season and, you know, we lost to Newcastle at home, apparently. And obviously, in the end, we ended up winning the FA Cup and the Champions League. So, you know, the last time that Liverpool lost like 3 games in a row, and, you know, the last time this happened and that happened, it's crazy. You know, it's a little bit crazy. When you read it, I'm like, am I sure I don't believe in like supernatural things? Am I sure? Because it's a bit mental. But, you know, we have to just be positive because, yeah, winning the Champions League is great. But I'm not going to, if we lose to Newcastle, I'm not going to say to all right, calm, we're in the Champions League then. So, you know, I'd rather just beat Newcastle because, you know, that's what we have to do first. Of course, before we get into this game, I guess, why don't we talk about a little bit of Liverpool and Manchester United? Because Liverpool, them man are an absolute shambles. And my thought process, and I know he wasn't at fault for the goal, but what on earth made them think to sign a centre-back from Schalke, who are bottom of the Bundesliga and have conceded 52 goals this season? What made them think that he's going to solve the defensive issues? Also kind of funny that the guy decided from Preston already got injured again now. So it's a little bit weird, isn't it? Like what the flip has happened to Liverpool? Obviously, we'll get to Chelsea in just a second, don't worry, guys. But I just think it's baffling what's going on with them. Lewis, what do you reckon about that one?
It's injuries plus their form's just absolutely dived off the cliff. Alisson's got no confidence in himself right now, and he's making clanger after clanger. And they got too many They've got too many players performing poorly in defence. Trent's been poor all season. Van Dijk's been out, and he's been carrying their defence because they only started banging as a defensive unit when he first joined them. Yeah. So it's definitely the lack of Van Dijk in the squad as well. Because going forward, they still score goals. Like, their attack isn't completely messed up. They miss a lot of chances, but they always miss a lot of chances. There's a mix of a bad run of games, bad form, injuries. It's just a really bad time for them. Also, Jurgen Klopp with his personal issues at home as well. That's going to have an impact on his game management too. It's just a perfect storm for them. And it's peak if you're a Liverpool fan. But for us, I'm saying, well, we're here. We can overtake them now. 3 points taken against Newcastle, and we're back into the top 4 again. So it's a shame, but Liverpool will probably still finish in the top 4. Regardless of their form right now, I don't think they'll drop out the top 4 anyway. They'll end up getting back into it. But take the advantage while we can and just keep looking forward.
Definitely. That is, I guess, the question, because if Liverpool make top 4, who drops out? Because obviously City realistically will go on and win the league now. Leicester seem to be in banging form. We seem to be in good form. So one of us, Man United, Leicester or Liverpool, has to not make it. And I guess there's a couple of other shouts as well. So it's a tough one. But Matt, what did you make of it? Because my thoughts was always, yes, they had bad injuries, and especially the Van Dijk one, and then Gomez got injured as well. But I never saw last season anyone give Manchester City credit for Laporte missing the entire season. And he is equally as important to them as Van Dijk is to Liverpool. Obviously, actually less so now since they signed Ruben Diaz. But before that, that was certainly the case. And I never saw anybody giving them credit for that. So what do you make of the whole situation?
I don't think it's entirely the defensive injuries, to be honest. I mean, I think Salah's just carrying them throughout the season, to be honest, in terms of goals. But I mean, you get a bit top side. I mean, you gotta have a big squad depth. I mean, you're going to only have how many centre backs they've got, and they expect to compete for the league. You're going to have issues. So I think it's just a bit of a wake up call for them, really.
Yeah, it's a mare, really. Like, I've always thought this: when you play football like they do under Jurgen Klopp, and let's not pretend that they don't have money. They do, and even if they didn't have money from owners, they made plenty of money over the last few years from just success revenues and TV revenues in the Premier League, let's not forget, to have a better squad. Like, they don't have options. Obviously, they signed Jota. They got unfortunate with his injury. But other than that, they have no good backup options in the front three. I mean, Shaqiri is a decent option, but even he's used in midfield these days. It's just a bit of a man. Kind of similar situation for Manchester United, not in terms of injuries, but in terms of they're just absolute bottle jobs. I mean, yeah, I know we were top of the league once as well, and look at how that's gone. But the fact that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer sits there in an interview and says, we shouldn't even be talked about as title contenders. I mean, bro, you're Manchester United. You haven't fought for a title in God knows how long. How can you sit here and say things like that? I mean, it's a bit baffling, isn't it?
Exactly that for me. Like, there's a lot of teams that are in contention for the title now still. Man City are running away with it, but a run of bad games to them can turn it around. No one expected Liverpool to lose 4 games on the bounce. Here we are. Liverpool lost 4 games on the bounce. Same thing could happen to Manchester City. So right now, even in Chelsea's perspective, I'm saying it quietly. I'm not getting gassed about it. But if the right things fall in the right place, we can go for the title. If enough teams drop points, I've got no reason to think it can't happen. But that's the same for a lot of teams right now. So it's the most open season in years. Just work on consistency, because that's the one thing everybody lacks. Just keep being consistent. We haven't lost under Tuchel yet. Keep that going.
Yeah, that is the main thing. I mean, to be honest, like, even if we draw against Newcastle, I'll be fuming. So we need to keep winning, not even just like not losing. Because as much as it's like the whole debate with the Invincibles. Yeah, it's sick to go a season unbeaten, but realistically, if you draw about 1,500 games, it's not that fun either. Like, you know, imagine we draw against Newcastle all the time, or we drew against Burnley, and we drew against Sheffield United. Well, we wouldn't be anywhere near the top 4 right now. Obviously, this is not taking anything away from the Invincibles. That was still a sick team, not as good as our 4 or 5 team, in my opinion. Don't come at me, Arsenal fans, if there's anybody watching. It is fact. It is fact. But enough of that. Let's get into talking about Chelsea against Newcastle, because I think there is a few very important questions to be answered here. First of all, will we change the formation to a back 4 now? Because obviously we hadn't until the second half against Barnsley, and that worked at least a lot better than he did in the first half against Barnsley. So what does he do there? And then the next question is, what do we do about the strikers? Because Timo Werner had a good performance against Sheffield United, but didn't score. Tammy Abraham seems to be our only forward that actually knows how to score. Even if it was only Barnsley, someone had to score the goal, and he was the only one that did. And he was the last forward to score goals as well. Again, I know it was Lewis, and I know it wasn't even on the Tuchel yet, but still. So he certainly has a case made for himself. And then, Mason Mount, I guess right now we probably should count him as a forward as well in the positions he's been playing under Tuchel. So I guess he knows how to score as well. But that will be difficult to fit all of these guys in. And then, you think about a Pulisic, a Hudson-Odoi, and, who knows what we're going to do. But, Matt, what do you make of the whole back 3 situation? Do you think he'll change to a back 4, or what do you reckon he'll do tomorrow?
I reckon our back 3 have been a lot more just solid and structured, I think, since Tuchel's come in. So I can't imagine him want to maybe take a gamble on that. But at the same time, like I said, we have too many options up front and in the midfield to play a back 3 now. There's going to be people like Ziyech, Pulisic, Mount. Where are all these people going to fit in? I think these people are better suited to a back 4 formation rather than 5 at the back.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree. It's just the question is just the question is just, because it worked against Barnsley, obviously the back 4, right? Will that be enough for him to change it? That's why I'm just not sure. Like, I've said this all along. I want us to long-term use the back 4. I understand that why Thiago is out, that maybe he might be a bit hesitant for it, because quite frankly, I don't trust any of the other pairings that much without Thiago Silva. So I get it if he doesn't, but what do you make of it, Lewis? Do you think he will go back 4 tomorrow or not?
No, I don't think we will go back 4, because we started with back 3 for the Barnsley game, and I was surprised we did that anyway. Yeah. Plus, I didn't feel that confident in us in a back 4 anyway. I thought our transitioning was much worse in the second half compared to the first half. Back 3 makes more sense, and plus we get the best out of Andreas Christensen doing it, and that's half the reason why I think he was subbed off in the end of the first half, because he's our only ball-playing centre-back, so it makes sense to take him off the field early. I didn't even think
he had a headache.
Headache was the injury when he got taken down to the ground. He tried to do that little John Terry thing in the way of the ball. But yeah, the way Tuchel worded it, like he couldn't have said it worse. I mean, headache, but it's not a headache. It's not a headache. Whatever it was, I'm just glad it's not too serious. I was worried he was going to have a concussion coming out of that. But yeah, I'll probably go back 3 for this game. We've been doing it for the last few games as well, and Newcastle are going to be a similar sort of team to the teams we faced. Yeah. So I expect a similar tactics for that too.
Yeah, I do as well. I mean, it's tricky for me. It really is. I agree. I think he will stick to the back 3 until Thiago's back, because unless he sees something in training which we haven't seen in games, I don't think he trusts any of them others as a pairing either, quite frankly. Not quite sure whether I agree with this, that transitioning was worse against Barnsley in the second half, but fair. I reckon it should be a back 3, but it should be a back 3 not like we had it against Sheffield United and like we had it against Tottenham. As much, I love Reece James, my favourite player at the club, right? But play Hudson-Odoi as the right wing back, please. Don't play an actual 5 defenders. Like, we absolutely don't need that. Whether it's Alonso or Chilwell at left wing back, I prefer Chilwell. Do I think he deserves to start over Alonso? I don't know. The fact that Alonso started against Barnsley and Chilwell didn't makes me think surely Chilwell starts tomorrow. I don't know. But it's a tough one. As long as Hudson-Odoi starts right wing back and not Reece James, and we don't go into this like a bit more defensive than we need to and should do, I'm happy with it. But who do you think should be in the back 4 or 5, whatever you want to call it, in that situation, Matt? Who do you think? Obviously, Mendy will be in goal, right? As much as Kepa did okay until obviously Tammy had to bail him out. Mendy will still be in goal. But who do you think will be the centre-backs and the wing-backs?
I think he'll be... I think he has to put Aspie in, obviously. And Chris... I don't know, will Christensen be available?
Probably.
Yeah, so it's only a headache, as Tuchel says. But yeah, Chris... And then I still think put Rudiger in there with Zuma. I don't know. Despite, he's had a couple slip-ups. They both got a mistake in them. Yeah. I just think Rudiger's just that slightly bit more experienced. He's a bit more calm. I don't know. And then wing-backs, I do agree. I think James's best appearance was when he came on for Sheffield, just more of an impact. But I don't think he's too good to be just on the bench at the same time, though. So, but I think Hudson-Odoi's best appearances have been in the wing-back as well. So it's a tough one. So I put Hudson-Odoi on right wing-back, and then I'll probably have to say Chilwell left wing back just because of his more all-round defensive duties.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't disagree, to be honest, bro. Like, the Chilwell Alonso one is a debate that me and Lewis have had many times, and a lot of people have had many goes at us for it. It's a weird one. And to be honest, like, if Chilwell started against Barnsley, I would have been 100% convinced that Alonso starts tomorrow. But just because Alonso got the Barnsley game, I feel like why would he have done that? Like, whether Chilwell or Alonso started wouldn't have been the deciding factor in beating Barnsley or not. So the fact that he did that makes me think it will be Chilwell, unless he goes for back 4, and then Chilwell will obviously start anyway. Jesters has made a fair comment, by the way. Obviously, the little badge that he has to his name, guys, that's because he's a member. So if you want to become a member as well and make sure that I see all of your chat messages, become a member, click the join button underneath. You don't have to, but all the instructions are there. He said he would start Reece James because of St. Maximin. He doesn't trust Hudson-Odoi on defence yet. And I see what you're saying, but realistically, where they would really threaten us, that's kind of where the right centre-back comes in, not really the right wing-back. Because, I mean, Andy Carroll maybe, but they don't have Callum Wilson, so they don't really have anyone for St. Maximin to play it to. That's really dangerous. Could be jinxing it here, but you know what I'm saying. So the really dangerous spot is kind of the right centre-back rather than the right wing-back for St. Maximin, in my opinion. And I would argue that Aspie is probably better suited to defending that than Reece James is personally. And also, I've said this plenty of times. I know Lewis thinks we should use Reece James as a right centre-back. I think it's just a waste of his talent. Personally, I think it's just pointless. I mean, for an off game, I don't mind it at all. But I don't see it as put him there long term. I don't know. I just think it's just
I think the back 3 it can work because he's got all the qualities to play in an inverted role, in my opinion. So you can get the most out of him in that position with the runs that you make going forward. That's the way I look at it as. I feel like he's really suited to that position. He can play there if needed, but same way you can also play him on the wing as well and make use of his crossing abilities from deep too, but you can also do that from right centre-back.
Yes, I don't know. I mean, I get what you're saying, and he certainly has those qualities, but he still is very much so limited in how much he can go forward. The only positive I see to it is that he can push up and almost act as a third midfielder, which obviously, is a different kind of strength that he has. But I still think long term, he's just more suited to just playing as a right back and just play a back four long term. But as in for this one, I agree with what Matt said. What do you think about it? Because obviously Christensen, if he's fit, he starts, right? If Aspie's fit and he will start. And then I guess it's just about the other three positions, isn't it? Lewis.
Oh, was that for me?
Yeah, because Matt's already told me that.
Oh, sorry. I thought that one was for Matt. Yeah, who's the other two positions we're saying?
So Christensen and Aspie will start, right? It's just about who's the left centre back. Almost certainly Rudiger. It's almost not even a question. It's just, I guess, about the two wing backs, if you're going to be totally honest with it.
So I would like to see Zuma play in one of the other positions, because I do think we can make use of his long passing as well. Yeah, he's a bit shaky on the ball, but so is Rudiger as well. And I just think Kurt Zuma as well, we've lost so much of our aerial threat since he's been off the pitch. I think we need to get him back on there anyway. Wing backs, I think we're going to go Callum Hudson-Odoi at right wing back. I'll be real, I'm not too worried about St. Maximin. Everyone says, well, we have to worry about him when we face him, and then he just does nothing the entire match. So I'm not expecting anything different. I think we can handle him. It'll be more Almiron, who I think is in better form, that we might need to worry about. But for the wing backs, I'd like to see Chilwell, but Alonso will probably start. It is what it is. Alonso at left wing back, I've got a lot less problems with him there than at left back, but he's still got hella deficiencies as a player. It'll probably be Marcus Alonso at left wing back, so we'll go him and we'll go Callum Hudson-Odoi on the right hand side.
You reckon it will be Alonso, even though Alonso started Barnsley?
Yeah, this is one of those games that Alonso likes, doesn't he? He loves a game against Newcastle, so
it's true.
Whatever, he'll be in a bit more confidence. Go for it.
To be honest, like I don't even disagree. To be honest, with how Alonso has played in the last few games, as much as I have a preference for Chilwell, I'm not that bothered if it's either of them. Obviously, Rumit, made a statement here that Chelsea tweeted this, that Reece James has actually played right centre-back in his academy days rather than right wing-back. Obviously, we did use a three-at-the-back system there every now and again, or quite regularly, depending on what kind of age group they were in and what competition they were competing in as well. I mean, that's all well and good, right? But Tammy Abraham was also a centre-back when he was a kid. So, don't go by anything that they did in the youth days. Obviously, with Tammy Abraham, it's many more years ago. I get that. But it's still just of my opinion, what I see of Reece James, and as much as someone put it here, Reece can be so frustrating going forward. I think you forgot about how frustrating Azpilicueta can be going forward. You're comparing it to Hudson-Odoi, but that's a different story. There's different players. Hudson-Odoi is an actual winger. Obviously, he's going to be a slight bit more of a threat going forward than Reece James is, but he's also not as good defensively as Reece James is. So, that's just simple, right? But I think to say Reece James is a bit frustrating going forward. Do I think sometimes he passed it back a little bit too much? Yeah, maybe. Maybe I do think that. But that's just age. The kid's, 21, 22? He'll only get better. He will only get better and stronger at these situations. And we already have it put in here by Jesters. The double pivot, I guess, if we're going to say we're going to play a 3-4-3 or 3-4-2-1, maybe even a 3-4-1-2. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. But we will have a double pivot. And the question is, who will that be? I didn't actually speak to you about it, Lewis, but I personally thought Kante was absolutely dreadful against Barnsley in the first half. In the second half, he was better, but the whole team was better.
Yeah, it's a sticky one for Kante still. Kovacic, it speaks for itself. That game showed exactly how much we miss Kovacic when they ain't in the side. So, yeah, both of them have to go right back in.
I think so too, bro. I think so too. I think with the form that they've been in and the form that Kante has showed when he came on, I just don't think Kante warrants being played over either of them right now. Obviously, if either of them was in bad form, you could say yes, and also the opponent, right? If we played a Liverpool and Manchester City and Manchester United, I would say even if Kante has been a bit poor against Barnsley is such a different team. Although, to be fair, in terms of the press, Barnsley are probably more different to Newcastle than they would be from Liverpool, quite frankly. But still, I just don't... I've said this before. When we play a back three, I just don't feel like we have the necessity for N'Golo Kante in the team.
Yeah, that's the same thing we said about last season as well. Do you remember? Last season, a lot of people saying, where does Kante fit in the team? We need to find a place to fit Kante in the team. Not necessarily. Kante's a quality player, but Kovacic have an understanding that he can't reach as a player. They're both excellent together, and it is what it is. So, for N'Golo Kante, until someone else drops out of form, he ain't really making our strongest lineup. But we've spoken about the level of depth we have in the squad. Here's the example. N'Golo Kante isn't making this lineup right now. Here we are.
Yeah, I mean, fair. I think it's fair. Like I said, again, somewhat depending on the opponent, but I don't think against Newcastle we need to force Kante in there, quite frankly. And we've done this too many times over the years anyway, where we try to push certain players into a team just because of who they are when it wasn't necessary. And I think that is a little bit the situation with Kante right now. Now that Kovacic and Jorginho are in good form, give Kante the time to properly get back after being injured very often, after not being in the best form. Give him a little bit of time. And use that time to get back to his best, because when Kante is at his best, he's one of the best midfielders in the world. No one's debating that. But he's not at his best right now, in my opinion. Matt, what do you think about it?
Yeah, I totally agree. I was just about to say, Jorginho and Kovacic the last few weeks, I mean, haven't really put that. There's not too much to complain about, really. So if it isn't broke, don't fix it. Just keep going as it is. Because I can't see Kante. I can't really argue Kante starting over them, to be honest. I mean, he just hasn't shown enough.
No, you really can't at the moment. You really can't. It's a weird one. And yes, Leeds, Arsenal have just kicked off. Stick around here. Watch it in the background if that's the situation. But yes, we all hope that
it's like a semi-watch along, because if Leeds score, there will be limbs in my household. Fun Leeds, but the agenda must run.
I would love it so much if Leeds scored and out of nowhere your dad just stormed in, jumping around like crazy fast. That'd be brilliant.
It hasn't happened yet, though. Hopefully not.
Hey, I'm still waiting for it. I'm still waiting for that day to happen. But I guess continuing on with predicted lineup or, lineup that we would go for. Obviously, I guess the next question is, will it be a 3-4-1-2 or 3-4-2-1? Obviously, with rather a 10 behind the 2 up front, or will it be 2 kind of wide forwards, wide 10s behind a single striker? And I guess that's where, the whole striker situation comes into it, which I touched on at the beginning. Tammy Abraham. If Tammy starts, it's probably going to be 2 behind him. If Timo is the only out-and-out forward that starts, it's probably going to be Timo, Mason behind and someone next to him, whoever that may be. We'll talk about it in a second. But
it's Havertz still injured.
I think maybe he'll be fit to be on the bench, but I would be very surprised if he starts, because what Tuchel said on Friday is he might still miss this game. So even if he is fit, he probably will be on the bench rather than start.
Okay. All right, that's cool.
So, go on.
I'd think, because Mount gets into this lineup regardless.
Yeah.
So, I think, do you think it'll be 1 in behind and then Tammy and Timo up front? Because I also do think Tammy needs to get into this lineup as well. So I'm going to go Tammy, Timo, Mount in behind.
It will be interesting whether Tuchel will do that, because he hasn't done it so far. When he's used the 2 up front, it's been Werner and Pulisic in the second half against Burnley, or, well, I guess Pulisic and Hudson-Odoi together against Spurs, or against Sheffield United once Werner had come off with his dead leg. Obviously, we're not 1,000% guaranteed that Werner is fit. We strongly assume so, because the dead leg, you should be fine after a couple of days, right? But it's a tough one. And Kamal put in a good comment here, just as saying, I think Kante will leave in the summer for either Liga or Serie A. I don't think so. I think Kante is still important to us, that we won't sell him. He might say, I wouldn't mind it, but I also don't see Kante as the guy to have a push for a transfer, quite frankly. So we'll see what happened there. But Kamal said, what do you think about Hakim Ziyech? And I guess we'll touch on this here, because I haven't spoken to either of you about, obviously, his performance against Barnsley. And him, in my opinion, him and Kante were probably the worst 2 performers. Maybe I'm a bit harsh on Kante in that sense, but he just had too many moments that triggered me a bit. And then the third one would be Pulisic that I would mention. But Ziyech really didn't help himself now, did he? But in terms of the front 3, if you want to call it that, I just want to make the point that Tammy Abraham, in my opinion, has been extremely unfairly treated by both Lampard and Tuchel so far. He's the only guy that actually scores out of our strikers. Let's not kid ourselves with that. And whenever he has a poor game, he just doesn't play anymore. But whenever all the others have a poor game, they keep playing. What's that logic? I don't understand. Like, Tammy played poorly in the first half against Burnley. We all know that. We all can agree with that. It's all well and good. But why has he not started since then until Barnsley? That was unjustified in my opinion. And I said this before as well. If it's a front 2 without either striker, fair enough. But I don't think Giroud should start games. I just don't think so. And I think Giroud is kind of, what's the word? kind of just squeezed himself through the season with like 2 good performances, and everyone thinks he's prime Drogba out of nowhere. It's a bit of a weird one, in my opinion. But what do you make of it, Matt? Like, who do you think should be the front 3 before we kind of agree on a 3 altogether?
I'd say I completely agree with Lewis, to be honest. I mean, Mount has to go in just for his like work rate and everything he's doing. Then, yeah, I think Werner, obviously, he's just been involved in all the goals recently. Despite not scoring, he's still contributing, so you can't really fault him for that. And yeah, Tammy's the only one that's actually been consistently scoring. So there's no way around it, I think.
That's it. I mean, obviously, Jester has made a fair point. If you play those 3, you can play both formations. It kind of doesn't really matter. And I guess you could switch swiftly between the 2, whatever suits best in game. And, Lewis touched on it in the very beginning. Thomas Tuchel is certainly very good at in-game management, so you can't really complain with that. But someone did already say, Tammy will do nothing good against championship sides, though. I mean, Tammy Abraham, I'll get the stats up here for you. In 49 starts for Chelsea, he has 42 goals and assists, which, in my opinion, is ridiculous. Obviously, someone already said 90% of those are against lower league oppositions. Actually, 29 of those 42 have been against Premier League and Champions League sides. So maybe he hasn't always done it against the very best Premier League teams when we played them. Maybe. But with the issues that we've had, neither has anybody else. So you can't really hold that too much against Tammy because the others haven't done it either. And I'm not trying to make this a Tammy propaganda podcast here. Maybe a sort of Hajir on for this. But he's still not as bad as people constantly make him out. And the one thing, he will have a bad game and he will be invisible very often. And he will flop over and his legs will look like spider legs and he will trip over himself. I know that. But at least when he's in front of goal, I know that he will actually score. And I don't feel that with any other player in this team other than maybe Alonso. I don't feel that with anybody. Hudson-Odoi, especially playing as a right wing back, doesn't really get into that position a lot. Pulisic has missed sitters. Werner, I don't even want to talk about missing sitters. Mount, fair enough, scored a very good goal against Sheffield United, but his shooting has been kind of on and off. Not from close range, I won't criticise him at all, but in general, Giroud, well, usually just doesn't end up getting on the end of anything, really. Because how that the Tammy goal against Barnsley, I guarantee Giroud stops to wait for a cutback rather than going to the near post and tap it in. I guarantee it, so the goal doesn't even happen. Because Giroud always stops and waits for the cutback. He never goes for the front post. Never ever does. So it's a weird one. I don't agree with this, Wesley. I don't agree with this. But hey, we're all entitled to our opinions. And I guess if it's that front 3, it's that front 3. But what did you make of the Hakim Ziyech performance anyway? Let me go with Matt first. What did you make of Hakim against Barnsley, obviously?
I can't actually remember the last time I got so frustrated over a single player, to be honest. I mean, I do feel for the guy. He looks like just completely lost at the end of it when he came off. But every single thing was not going for him that day. I don't know what's going on, whether he's just unhappy or that was just a blip in his form. But I think we knew before he came that he was just one of those players that could just go quiet and then all of a sudden just pull out a worldie out of nowhere. He was always one of those players, but maybe it just wasn't the best idea to start him against Barnsley. Maybe it wasn't this kind of game.
Yeah, I mean, you could make that, but at the same time, he didn't start the last few, so you have to start him at some point, I guess.
Yeah.
I will get into, obviously, the Athletic released an entire article on the whole Hakim Ziyech situation, so people might not have read it, so I will quickly talk through it, even though I did with Ellie as well. But what did you make of his performance, and what do you make of his... I'm not going to ask you, do you think we should tell him? Do you think he will leave? I think that's a lot of crap. People shouldn't make that assumption on one game or a couple of months anyway. But what did you make of the... Hakim Ziyech situation? Anybody in the chat, by the way, please don't spam. If you really want me to see something that you say, use the super chat function. If you're spamming, I will have to mute you for 5 minutes, and if you then keep doing it, I'm gonna have to block you. That's how it goes. So don't spam. But if you really want me to see what you have to say, use the super chat function. But Lewis, go. Ziyech.
Yeah, Ziyech is a sticky one because that Barnsley performance stunk, but it looked more motivation than him being a bad player or anything. He just didn't really look like he cared too much. Like, he was sitting there thinking, I should be playing in bigger games than this, but same way he should be performing in those sorts of games too. And I do think there's been questions about where he truly fits in Tuchel's system, and we're still yet to find that out. But I don't think it's closed where Ziyech has to leave yet. He'll still have opportunities to show himself. I do think part of it is also him getting back to full speed after all these injuries that he's been getting, and that will come with time. But it was just a howler 60, 70 minutes against Barnsley, to be honest. He'll have extra opportunities to prove himself, but where he fits in Tuchel's system, we have to wait to find out. I can't sit here and just say where I think he can go into, because wherever I think he can go into, there's other players that can play in that position as well. But I think he has the quality to still have a position in the squad. I just don't know how much impact he's going to get to have this season.
Yeah, it's a weird one because you talk about he wants to play in bigger games. Barnsley are about the level as half the bloody Dutch league. So, like, I don't really understand what this like. If this is true, I'm gonna say my piece on this in just a second. But you can't really talk like that. Like, half of the Dutch league has much smaller stadiums than bloody Barnsley. Yes, their pitches might be better, fair enough. But other than that, in terms of ability, I don't think a lot. Like, there's plenty of Dutch first division teams that aren't as good as Barnsley, in my opinion. I mean, Barnsley just beat Brentford last night or today, who obviously have been on a crazy unbeaten run in the Championship and are running away with it, quite frankly. So Barnsley are not that bad. I will say this on Ziyech. Him and Havertz, they both always have this tendency to look like they're not bothered. That's just what they look like. And there is every now and again, there is players like that. You could even argue Hazard had moments and months and years where he never looked bothered other than when he was on the ball. And, Ziyech has this arrogance about him and this cool look about him when he plays these crazy over-the-top passes, when he plays these crosses, when he shoots from distance. And when he scored that goal against Chelsea, like from the inside of the post and hitting Kepa in the face, looking like, what do you mean? Like almost like doing a Mario Balotelli, why always me celebration kind of thing. That's just what he's like. But it's just frustrating when he looks like that while passing backwards and misplacing his passes against the Championship side. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think that's where the issue comes from. I think he always looks like that, but we're not bothered if he plays well. So I'm not going to go into he cares too much or he doesn't care enough or whatever. I'm not going to go into that. What I will say, obviously the Dutch league, when we signed him, terminated on March 7th last year. So they didn't continue after a lockdown, after a restart. They just terminated it. He joined us in July. Obviously, it was kind of in training, but not properly because obviously the rest of the team were playing Premier League and restart. So as much as he was used to train, he can't exactly be properly part of it ahead of match days. And we played every 3 days. So, that was a bit of a tricky one. And then we didn't have a preseason. Obviously, he did. So, fitness shouldn't be an issue for him. He had plenty of time to get fully fit in all this period where he was with us before being allowed to play. But then in the one and only preseason game we had, he picked up that injury. And that was his first actual game, other than maybe some in-house stuff that we don't know about. And that was in August. And that was his first game since March. Then he gets injured. He's injured for another 5 or 6 weeks. So he plays his first game, actually, his first competitive game, more than 7 months, 8 months after his last competitive game, plays really well for a little while, but only actually plays a full 90 minutes on 2 occasions. Once against Sheffield United, when we beat them 4-1 at Stamford Bridge. And then the other time was actually for Morocco when they beat Congo, the Democratic Republic of Congo, I think. I can't remember. One of them. Anyway, some like qualifiers game in Africa.
Oh, fuck's sake.
Arsenal.
Yep.
Who's good?
Aubameyang.
Let's just pretend that didn't happen. Let's just pretend that didn't happen.
Dead leads, bruv, every damn time.
Oh, but you got to stay positive. They might still turn it around. It's Leeds.
I hope so. But
yeah, I mean, you never know. David Luiz might get sent off. Is he playing even?
Yeah, he's played.
So
get Willian on the pitch, for goodness sake.
Yeah, exactly. So I will give Ziyech that excuse. And obviously, then they picked up another injury, and then everyone's just been off form. Does it excuse the way he played against Barnsley? That was just too bad to have any excuses for it. But in general, he does have a fair few actual valid excuses, a lot more than a lot of other players that have struggled a lot this season. And someone said it earlier. I don't disagree with it, but someone said Pulisic was worse than Ziyech against Barnsley. I saw a few people saying that. What did you make of that? And we all agreed that Pulisic shouldn't start. But what do you make of the Pulisic situation anyway? I guess similar, not excuses, but situation in terms of injuries, but struggled a lot as well, hasn't he, recently, man?
Oh, this is me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, he was very obviously quiet as well. But yeah, he did have a couple of moments which you did see something in him.
Yeah.
But I don't know. There is just that thought of, although his injury still sort of looming over him. He just doesn't seem as sort of willing, I guess, to take people on all the time. Although he was, I don't know, he just never really seemed like involved after time. So
Yeah,
I wouldn't say he was worse than Ziyech. I think Ziyech just lost the ball too many times.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think Pulisic was just half of the time I didn't even realize Pulisic was playing, and you know, maybe that's a bit better than constantly being fuming at like I was at Ziyech for constantly giving the ball away. So maybe it's not quite as bad. That's why I think Ziyech was worse. But Pulisic certainly wasn't doing himself any favors with that performance overall. Or do you disagree with that, Lewis?
Pulisic had like 1 or 2 good phases in the game.
Yeah.
That was about it. It was really quiet from us going forward, to be honest. Yeah, that was just it. Pulisic had a quiet game. There really weren't much to his performance. Just didn't, like, literally, I can't bring up too many moments. He had one chance that he started and created for himself, and that was literally it from him.
Yeah, it really was. It really was. And it's a bit sad because
all season. And I think it's been the same for him all season. I think with him, he's still trying to get that confidence back in himself and his body. And that on top of changing your style a little bit, so you're not as explosive, because that's what's been causing the injuries. A little bit of that's what's holding him back, but that's mental, and he'll get over that in time. It's just how much time does he have, and also just don't get another injury, please.
Yeah, I think that's the most important thing. Like, we absolutely need to make sure he does get injured again, because that's honestly the last thing we need. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, if you're still watching right now, make sure you subscribe, smash the bloody like button. We haven't even hit 50 likes yet. So go down below, smash the like button right now. If you're watching this, it doesn't cost you any money. It barely costs you any time. We're just going to keep talking anyway. And you just click that little button. Like, honestly, just click it, right? Just click it. But Lewis, don't try again. Otherwise, you're going to leave the chat again. But I guess the other few things that I want to talk about is the situation that our forwards don't score. And I will say this, obviously, Matt touched on this earlier. Imagine if Frank was still here. And I'm not going to go on a Tuchel hate here, not in the slightest. But I will say this. We're now 6 games in, and we had one good half of football. And that was the second half against Burnley. Like, I'm not saying we were bad against Wolves. I'm not saying we were bad in the first half against Burnley. But in terms of playing well and creating a good amount of chances, we had one half of that in 6 games. What do you make of that? Let me go with Lewis first. What do you make of that?
Wait, one big chance in what?
We had one half in the last 6 games where we actually created a good amount of chances. That was the second half against Burnley. Against Wolves, we didn't. Against Burnley in the first half, we didn't. That doesn't mean we played badly, but in terms of the final third, right? Against Spurs, yeah, we had moments, but not loads of sitters, other than maybe the Werner one, obviously before Ori Adjustable clipped the ball away from him. And we definitely didn't have it against Sheffield United, other than maybe 1 or 2 over-the-top balls to Werner, or against Barnsley. So that is a criticism I will say for Tuchel. We're not playing better at final third football than we did or would have done under Frank, in my opinion.
Yes, but I do think that's more the players. Like, I think the final balls let us down a lot. The decision making in the final third when they have the ball has been so bad sometimes. Either the chance gets missed or the chance is taken so badly it don't even look like a big chance. There's always different circumstances surrounding it, but we all can admit that our play's got so much better since Tuchel's joined anyway.
Yeah, like I said, I agree. It got better from defense to midfield and even getting it to the front 3 or to the final third. But once we're there, I think we're equally as useless, arguably even a little bit worse, I would say. But that's, in my opinion, down to the formation we've been using, because you just have a player less in there, so it makes it a bit more difficult. But what do you make of that, Matt? I mean, obviously, it is a bit of a controversial statement to make, I know. But I just thought about that recently. I was like, really good offensive half. I feel like we only played one. And I wanted a bit more, quite frankly.
Yeah, well, obviously, Tuchel's brought, as he always says, intensity. But I don't know, it's not, you can't really pinpoint it to one person or it's a combination of the midfield and the attack. Like, the amount of times we could have, we don't really have a striker still. We just picks off all the scrap balls and all the flukes and stuff. We just don't really have someone who goes in for that. Tammy's probably the closest we got to it. Because, like I said, Giroud just always waits for the cutback. But, and then in terms of chance creation. I don't know if the stats still stands the same about the amount of through balls he played or the lack of through balls he played, but it's someone like Kovacic, if he could just, do a bit more in the sort of the final third, he'd be on the next level, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest frustrating thing about Mateo Kovacic. The ability he has is out of this world good, right? I mean, that's why he made it into the teams that he's played in his career, whether it's Inter Milan or whether it's Real Madrid for a number of seasons and winning Champions Leagues. Yeah, not being the regular starter, but still, you have to be some sort of good to be from abroad, not like come through the academy and be in Real Madrid's squad for a number of seasons. But the fact that his final third output isn't good enough by any stretch of the imagination is just fact. And then I guess the issue for him is he's good defensively, but not Kante good. So I guess that's where Kovacic's issue comes from. But I mean, he had one really good through ball for Werner against. Was that his ball against Sheffield United when Werner didn't manage to score the lob? I think it was,
Yes. It was that one.
So that is one point. I'm not saying, okay, now Kovacic is great. I'm saying we're playing a few more through balls already than we did on Frank, because I can't remember the last through balls on a Frank. I won't lie. So that is a bit of an issue.
Sheffield United and Spurs saw a big improvement in his forward passing. I'll give Kovacic credit for that. Barnsley game, he frustrated the hell out of me all match. But Spurs...
Barnsley?
Burnley, sorry.
Burnley.
I keep mistaking both of them. Their names sound similar. But yeah, Burnley, he frustrated the hell out of me. But Sheffield United and Spurs, I give him credit. His forward passing was a lot better in those games.
Yeah, no, he absolutely has to. And I guess that's, like, obviously I said this before. I said this a couple of weeks ago. Thomas Tuchel's biggest task and job right now is to get a forward scoring. Obviously, Mount scored against Sheffield United. And like I touched on earlier, with the positions and formations Tuchel has been using in him, you have to class him as a forward, really. And obviously, Tammy scored against Barnsley. But other than that, still none of our forwards have scored goals. Like, he needs to get these guys scoring goals, because to get us properly, because we've ground out a few results, but we can't expect to keep grounding and grinding for the rest of the season. That won't always work. We won't always manage to keep everyone out as much as we have done. Obviously, Sheffield had a couple of moments, where they certainly could have done a bit more and could have scored. Literally a minute in, Aspie gave the ball away and they were through and could have been 1-0 up. We can't always expect that. So we need to get the front three or the forwards scoring at some point. And a lot of that weighs on Timo Werner's shoulders. And I guess, like I put in the title, Werner to finally score. I bloody hope he does, because it was very positive to see him how he played against Sheffield United. I thought obviously the cutback for Mount was great. Obviously winning the penalties great. The fact that he won us 7 penalties already this season, I mean that's Hazard levels of amount of penalties he's won. And penalties get you goals win you games. So Mr. Michael Owen, but it's true. Like it's a big part of doing things. And if you're not scoring, if you're at least assisting and winning penalties for the team, that's very good. But at the end of the day, we signed him for 50 million to score goals, not to assist and not to win us penalties. So at some point, he needs to start doing that. I will let him off. Obviously, when you don't score for, 15 games now, 16 Premier League games. Obviously, he had the goal against Morecambe in between, but in general, hasn't scored much at all. Obviously, confidence will go at some point. At the start, I was very harsh on him. After a while, I was like, okay, if you don't score for that long, I get that confidence becomes an issue. But still, at some point, he needs to get over it. And also, teammates need to trust him a bit more and start finding him more and trust themselves as the midfielders to try and find him with these runs, because Werner makes good runs pretty much every game. But he's just never found, is he, Lewis?
That's been the thing for him all season, and Kai Havertz as well. Runs have always been ignored, and it's been frustrating. But that's where our problems with transition were under Frank Lampard. That's why we sucked transitioning from defence to attack, because we just kept ignoring the runs time and time again. Always happens.
Yeah, it honestly is like that. Matt, anything to add to that, or is it just as simple as that?
Yeah. The amount of runs he makes is ridiculous. But yeah, the players just need to trust him a bit more, and hopefully.
That's why we believe in him. Because he still does so much outside the game, even if he doesn't score. That's why he's different to Morata, because Morata just did nothing, and then when he had a chance, still did nothing. Werner, Finishing sucks. Everything else is calm. He creates a lot of chances. He's still involved with a build-up play heavily. He doesn't lose the ball too much. Yes, his first touch needs to improve, but so does his confidence. And us throwing him in the left wing for months on end was going to do that to him.
Yeah, and I will say that for Timo. Obviously, I never used him playing on the left wing as an excuse for not scoring the chances he had, but it is an excuse for not having good games outside of not scoring. The game like against Sheffield United, he wouldn't have a game like that when he's playing in a position he's not that comfortable in. But it doesn't have anything to do with if he's 5 yards in front of the goalkeeper, score. Doesn't matter where you start on the pitch. Once you get there, score. Doesn't really matter. Mm-hmm. It's irrelevant where you started initially, right? And I agree with that, Lewis. That is the one positive thing about him. But it's also one of the biggest frustrating things about the reign on the Lampard in particular. The fact that Timo made these runs makes me think that the plan was still to some extent to every now and again play a through ball, but we just didn't. So I still don't know who on earth is to blame for us never playing any through balls, because if Werner makes those runs, unless he just makes them because he fancies it, and it wasn't Lampard's instruction, if that was the plan, why did no one play through balls? I just can't comprehend it. We don't have a Fabregas, I get it. We don't have a De Bruyne, but we still have good players. Like Jorginho can find over the top ball. Kovacic can find an over the top ball. Reece James can find an over the top ball. Ben Chilwell, if need be, can find an over the top ball. Mason Mount can when he played deeper. Kai Havertz can. None of them did. It was really frustrating to me. Do you have any sort of explanation why we never tried that until the last couple of games, Lewis?
Because our tactics just looked past it to the wings and put balls in. We were heavy off the right-hand side, working off Ziyech and Reece James. That just feels like that's all that our tactics were, because we were very one-dimensional as a team. Go to Reece James, try and do something. If it don't work, get the ball back onto that right-hand side and we try again. And just rinse and repeat and rinse and repeat. That's why Lampard was working out.
Would Werner have made the runs if that was the only plan?
This is why Werner didn't really make a lot of sense either. I get putting him on the left wing, but it didn't work and we over-persisted with it, and that's what the problem was. But Werner in the middle, we've already said, would be worse than having Tammy Abraham in there, because you'd have no aerial threat. The Man City game was a big example of it. Whip crosses into Timo Werner. What a surprise, Werner hasn't scored yet. Ruben Diaz and Otamendi or Stones have the game of their lives against us, apparently. No, we whipped in crosses to Pulisic and Timo Werner all match. Easiest 90 minutes of their career. That's what the problem was, the tactics and the system.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong there. Matt, do you have any sort of explanation for that? Or is it just all we did really was just play it out wide and cross?
It just does baffle me. But yeah, I think as much as it pains me, I think it is just down to what Lampard was asking for, really. I mean, I can't actually remember that many memorable attacks where we were going down the middle. I don't know, just breaking people down that way. It was always cross it in and hope for the best.
Yeah, it really was like that. And Josef has said that Ziyech wants to leave. Obviously, a couple of sources have claimed that. I don't believe it. No reliable sources claim that. I don't think Ziyech is that guy to say, I'm out. I don't care. Not after one game, I think every player is smart enough to not say, I'm done out after playing 2 games. Like, no one will do that. He knows himself that he's not been at his very best. And obviously he will want to find his very best before he knows whether Tuchel will like him or not, I guess, long term. And, obviously we've touched on this before, or Lewis said it. Where is Ziyech's best position? It's a tricky situation, I guess, but him is probably the 3-4-2-1 is probably the best situation, rather, or as a 10, but then he wouldn't be ahead of Kai Havertz. So I guess that is kind of his issue. And just as I said here, that is why you're now seeing crosses played lower under Thomas Tuchel. I mean, that is not wrong. We do play a lot lower crosses. I think it's also, I will say though, we also don't. The crosses on average aren't as good on a Tuchel as they were under Frank. Under Frank, I wasn't really complaining about the crosses. I was complaining about no one getting in the end of the crosses. But under Tuchel, I'm like, sometimes we play a cross, I'm like, what's the point in that cross now? Like, we played our way in this lovely position, and then we play a pointless cross. So, but obviously this is no, serious complaint on our, Tuchel does that wrong or the players do that wrong, things will take a little bit of time. And I mean, Thomas Tuchel has one of the most intricate play styles of any manager in the world. There's a reason why he debated, should I even take this job during the season? Because someone like him, especially with the way he trains, obviously we touched on this a few times on this channel, takes more time to probably get used to than a lot of other managers maybe do. So, we definitely have to give him time and give it time. And I'm not saying criticizing Tuchel, not by any means. I just pointed it out that, our offensive play hasn't exactly been bloody brilliant. And I'm not sure whether in the chat it happened or it came up about the Haaland situation, but Justice has made a good point. If Dortmund don't finish in their top 4 in the Bundesliga, there will be a fire sale, and we definitely need to go in for Haaland. And I guess I'm not sure whether you touched it on your channel yet, Lewis, but obviously Upamecano is gone. So
Upamecano's that's finished.
Yeah, he's joined Bayern Munich. I mean, not joined him yet, but agreed to join them in the summer. And it's so far. So not even just journalists have confirmed this. Bayern Munich have now officially confirmed this. So this is happening. And I guess obviously we touched on it on your channel a few days ago, anyways, when it was about the centre back targets. Who do we get now then? Because I think all of us said, well, Upamecano would be great out of the somewhat realistic options, because I still don't see Varane as a realistic option. I just think at the end of the day, he will sign a new contract at Real Madrid. And the fact that we're even linked to him, it's just his agents making sure he gets a good contract at Real Madrid. I will get Matt's thoughts on this first, because I haven't actually spoke to you about this at all, about the centre-back situation. But who would you love? Because Justice made a good point again. Konate is a walking injury, and just not, in my opinion, what we need. Is he bad? No, but he's just Zuma. Konate is just Zuma, in my opinion. Yes, maybe slightly better passing, but he's just Zuma. I don't need just Zuma. I already have Zuma.
Yeah, I think the market's quite thin at the moment for what we're needing, because we're looking for the number one really for when obviously Thiago Silva sort of bows out. Who's going to replace him? I don't think maybe either of our centre backs are going to be ever, or they won't ever be at that level. I don't think, but we just need someone like when Van Dijk came into Liverpool or something, just someone of that stature who can carry us. I don't think there are that many people around at the moment, so it's quite tough. Yeah, I don't think Varane, or I don't think we should be paying the money for Alaba really. So I don't know. Maybe I wouldn't say wait, but I don't know what we can do at the moment. I don't want us to go in and buy someone and then regret it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. We've done that too many times anyway, that we signed players and then in the end regretted it, just because we were like, we need to get him. And obviously, Haaland made a point here, just get Süle. If we link to Süle, if we link to Boateng, yeah, I don't know. Because Süle, yeah, is younger, but Boateng is currently starting at Bayern Munich over Süle. So why would I want Süle over Boateng? That makes no sense other than age. But young centre-backs, that's not, like, we've handled plenty of young centre-backs. We need centre-backs that help us right now. Like, when they sign, next day, step in the door, they make a difference. Upamecano might have been a slightly different, proposition, because he's so talented and so, sought after. But in general, I still think we need someone that helps us now. And, Aaron put in the question, do we have the option of getting Tomori back? Well, we don't. But AC Milan have the option to buy him for 30 million euros, roughly. And then it becomes a point, we can't stop it at that point. It becomes a situation, do AC Milan want to pay that? They won't get him for less unless it's a completely new negotiation, and then we can say no. And also, does Tomori want to? Because obviously, Tomori does still have to agree to signing a contract there, right? So we don't have an option.
No.
Is it 2-0?
Penalty, bruv.
Human. But was it 1?
Huh?
Was it 1?
Ref was calling that. Yeah, that's a pen. Can't every time against a top 6 team, these lot just fall apart.
Yeah, it's not.
Was already
they've actually been in really good form this season, recently. It's a bit of a shambles.
Is that a pen?
I mean, I can't tell you, bro.
Yeah, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Like, man's already running at full speed. Anything can take him down. Cool.
I won't lie. Chelsea saying, get Paul Torres. Never heard of Paul Torres in my life, so can't really judge on that at all. Justice has made a point that apparently the TV contracts in France are being terminated, and apparently the new ones might not be as lucrative.
Oh, going to VAR.
Oh, VAR.
Come on. Come on,
Go
sorry.
on, go on. Now let's wait this out. What's happening?
Nah, it's VAR. This could go on for minutes. You might as well just keep going.
True. The way football has gone in the modern day, I just can't see a new TV deal in France being worth less than the old one. But of course, if there is even the smallest chance of getting Marquinhos, bloody get him. Like, make Thiago Silva do whatever he needs to do to make sure that guy comes to London. Like, obviously, just do something. I don't care what you have to do, just do it. And maybe we have to sign some other Brazilians again, if need be. I don't care if that means we get Marquinhos in, because Marquinhos, quite frankly, is just a slightly better version of Thiago Silva because he's younger. So, we're talking about DMs. If we play a back two and we have Thiago and Rudiger, or Thiago and Zuma and Thiago or Christensen, and then we can even play Marquinhos at DM if we need to.
Open. Come on. Fucking love that. Okay, we've got a chance. Let's do this.
Pau Torres. I can only think of Pau Lopez, and he's a goalkeeper for Roma, so I don't really know who you're talking about still. But hey,
the guy.
Yeah, no clue. I'm sorry. Koundé. Well, Koundé is an interesting shout. Of course, there's been rumors that Real Madrid are interested in him, Manchester United, and someone else. Good centre back, a bit short. Still an issue in my opinion. Him and Thiago Silva in a back four as centre back partnership. How on earth would that happen? Don't really see it personally. Good player though. So scored a great goal against Barcelona in a cup semi-final the other day, so fair play. Can't really complain with that, really. I like people that score against Barcelona, to be honest. Waved it off, never a pen, shoulder to shoulder. Well, that's a good summary, apparently. Is it? Lewis, is it? Is that what happened?
Shoulder to shoulder. There wasn't a lot on it. I thought like the speed that Saka was running at, it'd be easier for him to drop to the ground. Like, that's how Werner gets half of his penalties. So I was going to go with the pen, but they want to take it from Arsenal. Go take it from them. I ain't going to sit here and say nothing.
Fair. I mean, Pau Torres is apparently a Spanish centre-back for Villarreal. He's 24. I won't lie. I watch some Spanish football. I don't watch Villarreal. So I'm sorry. I don't know about that one. I don't know. I know a lot of people. I know a lot of footballers, but Pau Torres ain't one of them. I do apologise. But, boys, we've been going for over an hour. Do you have any final thoughts ahead of the Newcastle game before we get into some score predictions? Because I'm just excited. I just really hope we win and don't have this thing again where we bottle it after everyone else dropped the ball. I just really need us to win this one, Matt. Any final thoughts?
I mean, I really don't know how this game's going to go, to be honest. I mean, usually you come in sort of over there that we can get something out of this, but I don't know. Maybe it's just Barnsley. Let's just maybe worry a bit more that we sort of slip back into sort of being a bit more, I guess, like passive. But I don't know. I think we can grind out a result at least. That's all I think we can do. I mean, I'm saying this about Newcastle, but I think to get. We just need one game where we just get a few of our attackers on the score sheet, and then we'll be off and running again. And hopefully, this is the one. Yeah, that's the ideal. If we get like a couple of goals, 2-3-0, get some of the forward scoring, that's all we can hope for. I don't think it's even possible for us to be as passive as we were against Barnsley, because Newcastle aren't going to press us realistically. Like, they're not going to come to the bridge and start pressing. Like, I'd be very surprised if Steve Bruce turns up and starts pressing Chelsea. I mean, that'd be the weirdest thing I've ever seen in my life. But Lewis, any final thoughts other than that?
Just smash them. Get Timo Werner as goal, finally. I'm just saying, for every game, get Timo Werner a goal, because it will come sooner or later.
It will. I actually do want to get your thoughts on that quickly. And by the way, guys, if you're watching this, make sure you subscribe, smash the like button, and subscribe to Lewis. What did you make of Timo's comments after the Sheffield United game with the whole penalty situation? Obviously, Jorginho stepped up again, and then Timo was asked, shouldn't you take penalties now that you're searching for a goal so much? And he's like, well, you saw against Luton, maybe I should get a normal goal first before I start thinking about penalties again. It's a weird one, isn't it? I've never really heard that about a striker. Usually, when a striker have been craving goals and you didn't really have 100% set penalty taker before that anyway. Obviously, when Torres was finding goals, we didn't give him the penalty take away from Lampard or Drogba. But that was a bit different, right? Because Lampard had been taken.
So dumb, man.
What's happened now?
They've given him another penalty. This goalie is so dead, man. He's been sus the whole first half. Every single This guy's just been holding on to the ball and he's been looking like he's going to lose it. Now he's just given a pen.
Lewis, have you ever thought about, rather than doing Chelsea watch-alongs, to do Arsenal watch-alongs on your channel? I think that'd be great fun.
I've been low-key thinking about it, but I need a second channel for that shit. That's bullshit, though. They don't even need VAR for that. That's a pen.
That's such a harsh comment. Will he ever score again? I mean, I bloody hope he does.
48 million, I'd hope.
Yeah, no, exactly. But what do you make of that? Do you think he should be taking pens? Or do you think it's good that we're not putting that pressure on him after what happened against Luton? Matt, go first, Matt.
I think that's down to the player, really. If Werner's obviously been that quite hesitant about it, I don't think we should. I mean, the last thing we want is Werner missing another penalty. But yeah, that does bore me a little bit. I mean, as much as I laughed about it when he made that comment, you do kind of want that striker who just, I don't know, no matter what form they're in, they have 100% self-belief. But I think sometimes he can be a bit too down to earth.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even disagree with that. I mean, it was a nice interview and like an interview where like you're a really likable guy. But I'm not sure that's what's going to make you score goals. Aubameyang takes his penalty seemingly.
He's just scored it 2-0.
Exactly. So now no one needs to care about that game anymore. So if you're watching this right now, just stop, turn that off. We know what's going to happen. So just watch this. But Michael obviously made a fair point saying we have to get attacker scoring. To do that, we need to play a 4-2-3-1. Not sure whether it needs to be a 4-2-3-1 as such, but a fullback formation just gives you one more attacker. So that makes sense. But let's get to score predictions. Let's get to score predictions. I'm positive. I'm gonna go. I said this before. I'm kind of just talking it into existence. I did this before. It didn't work. I'm gonna keep doing it until it works. So I'm gonna just go for a somewhat bigger scoreline, just until we finally start scoring some goals. Because obviously under Thomas Tuchel so far, we haven't scored more than 2 in any game. So I want that to happen, please. So can we please score 3? So I'm gonna go 3-0 as my score prediction. But what about yourself, Lewis?
I'll say 2 or 3-0 as well. I don't see them scoring. I just want us to try to get some goals, and I'm hoping Werner scores. So, I'll go 3-0 Chelsea too.
Go on. And you, Matt? Positive?
Yeah, 2-0. I don't think we'll be troubled too much defensively, but I don't think we have that much of an impact from Tuchel that quickly. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a tough one. But what did you say now? 2-0, or what did you say?
2-0 Arsenal. Oh, you're talking about the Chelsea game?
Yeah, no, I didn't fully catch Matt's prediction.
Oh, 2-0.
Oh, yeah, okay. It's a weird one. Obviously, we touched on this before. Callum Wilson is also injured. So, that is Newcastle's, by far, his biggest goal. As much as Saint-Maximin is a very good player, he doesn't score that much now, does he? Obviously, I'm not trying to jinx things here. And even if he scores 1, we'll just score 3 and it's fine. But, the fact that if they're missing Callum Wilson, we should really be beating them. It shouldn't be an issue. Obviously, Newcastle fans hate Steve Bruce as much as they hate Mike Ashley these days, which is quite depressing for them. We just need to get the dub. We need to get into top 4 now, and then we need to just keep going. We said this before. We just keep winning every game. We can't get out of top 4 anymore, so that's brilliant. So let's just win every game, win every league game, win every Champions League game, make top 4, win the Champions League, win the FA Cup. Brilliant. Who said this recently? Did you say it? Tuchel's treble stealing blues or whatever. What did you say?
Treble stealing tricky blue army. You said the FA Cup and the Champions League. If we win every game up to the end of it, we'll take the Premier League too. You already know.
I don't know, because I reckon Man City might win every game until the end as well.
Everyone said that about Liverpool start the season too. They'll have their drop. Man City will drop off.
True. Isn't Fabian Schär also injured? The Swiss centre back. I feel like he is. Not sure what he's.
No.
It's still out. We'll find out with obviously the Newcastle fan on your channel, because that's what I'm going to plug now at 6:30 UK time after the Arsenal Leeds game. Myself and Lewis will be joined by a Newcastle fan on his channel, where we will be talking about that and talking about the game, obviously more from a little bit of a Newcastle perspective, I guess. We will do that. Thank you, boys, for coming on. Thank you, everyone that has tuned in. I really do appreciate it. Smash the like button if you haven't already. Let me check how many likes we have so far. We have. You need to wait for that.
Smash the like button. There's never really enough, is it?
It definitely isn't enough. We have 65 likes, so go and smash the like button right now. Don't care whether you have a Google account or not. If you don't, make one. It doesn't cost you any money, barely cost you any time. So it's just brilliant. Again, thank you to Matt for coming on, especially on such short notice. Thank you to Lewis for coming on. Tune in to that later. Subscribe to Lewis. Subscribe to my channel. Become a member if you fancy it. Click the join button underneath if you want to. Still don't know 100%, but I'll do a player rating stream on my channel tomorrow. Maybe. So look out for that. Obviously, after my live review over on Blues Fan TV. But yeah.
How have you got beaten at your near post by Bellerin?
Is it 3? Oh, flip sake,
How?
Bellerin. I hate Bellerin.
This keeper stinks, man. He's genuinely so dead.
Honestly, you need to do Arsenal watch logs. This is the funniest thing I've ever seen.
Oh my gosh, man. Near post, man. When you watch this, man, when you watch the highlights of this game, the game's been thrown on their hands with a silver platter. I swear down. We ain't competing with these lot anymore. Because if this was a few weeks ago, I'd be even more vexed. But they're literally pinballing it around their box for bants.
Yeah, I mean, but that's what he's like against Leeds. Like even our game against him, yeah, we bottled it first minute in to concede pretty much. But other than that, like we was all over them and playing around with them as if it was nothing, quite frankly. But let's have Lewis, just go crazy at Arsenal off air. Again, thank you guys for watching. Thank you to Matt and Lewis for coming on. Join us on Lewis's stream after the Arsenal and Leeds game. But yeah, up the shells. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.